Our next presenter, George Beland. George is a Portsmouth furniture maker based in the Button Factory. He's been designing and building furniture in the Seacoast since 2002. His presentation will be based on his experiences developing a craft-based business and the opportunities and constraints inherent in that pursuit. So with that, George, the floor is yours. Where's my friend George? There's George.
Good evening. All right. Here we go. So, I'm George Beland, a furniture maker in Portsmouth. This is about making furniture and the best thing I've ever built, which is the business. It's not one moment of inspiration at all. It's more like 20 years of taking each opportunity and experience and putting myself in the best position for the next one. I started out after high school making little metal things, made things like this, 10,000 of them. Talked my way into a job I was totally not qualified for. It was awesome. It was also the 90s, so you could do that. I made thousands and thousands and thousands of these and then thought I should go back to college and become an engineer. And then about halfway through my first semester at college, it occurred to me that you really actually had to know math, that wasn't going to work for me. I ran into a guy walking across campus with a little table that he had made, and it was awesome. And I asked him where he got it, and he said there was this class you could take, and you could go into the class and you could make stuff. So for 7 out of the 8 semesters that I was at UNH, I went into this class and I made things, and I already knew how to make things really, really well because I had spent all that time making all of those high-precision metal widgets. So I got to do a lot of design work. I got out of school. I went out into business for myself. I was really happy and optimistic. So it turns out, when you go into woodworking as a profession, you need money. You don't have that. You don't have money. You don't have clients. You don't have a portfolio. You don't have equipment. You don't have skills to make things quickly. And then you get the bad news that you also need to know how to market things. You need to know how to take photography, as it turns out. You need to learn how to stretch dollars. It's an experience. You also need 5 pieces of equipment kind of like this. And this is a shaper. It's like needing 5 cars. And you can go the route where you have 5 junky cars because you can't afford 5 good cars. And it's like having 5 junky cars and that they broke down. I went with the 5 cars and a couple of mopeds. It's also one of those things that's I think there's an analogy to doing professional sports. Like with any work, anybody can throw a baseball over the plate pretty regularly, but that does not mean you're going to get into the major leagues. I built this in my first year, and it took me 3 months, so there was no way I made any money on that. I started going into making things that were just based on what machines I had and the skill set that I had, and I made these, and they were interesting. They were easy to make, and they weren't going to fall down, but every time you touched one, it felt like it was, so I had to go the hard route. I started making the same thing over and over and over again. It's like throwing that baseball and getting it over the plate and getting better and better at it. And I made tables very similar to this, and I made a lot of them. And I got better. I got to the point where I could know what problems were coming down the road, and I could solve them way before. And I got to the point where now I can make things like this. It's a chair. Chairs are actually really phenomenally hard to make. They need to be lighter, stronger, much, much more ergonomic than anything else you make. And they need to be aggressively priced because people need more than one of them. They need whole sets of them. Early on in the career, I also made a lot of stuff like this. And this is not a very earth-shattering piece, but I look at this piece and I still think it's a really nice piece, and it's the kind of thing I learned a lot about. If you look off to the corner there, it ties in well with an existing wall. If you look off to this corner here, there's this little step. That actually hides a foundation. Like, this is a challenging piece. And it set me up to do things like this. This is not fundamentally different. It's a box. It's got other little boxes in it. It's got a more attractive, base to it and other little things that go to it. And I started to see things like how people were using space and started talking to them about the spaces and learning more about dealing with the clients and understanding what they were going through and what it was that they needed. This piece right here is a small dining room table. This was the first really challenging ergonomic thing, and it was the first time I used a pedestal. A guy had moved into a really small apartment, and there was a buffet table, and he wanted to be able to seat a buffet seating. He wanted to be able to seat 6 people, and that was the only solution. Later on, I used that solution with the pedestal table. And on this, there was a woman who had a very small kitchen. She wanted to be able to seat herself there every day for breakfast. It was a work apartment in New York. And then occasionally her husband would come down, and she would also wanted to be able to seat a third person. This is the kitchen. That's the space. She won the bet. And we put there's a leaf on this side that folds up. So as long as you don't need to get back and forth in the kitchen, you can use that leaf. But I also made a leaf on the other side of this table, which is totally useless in this application, but 60 years from now, this table will be around, and they'll need it there. This is, clients wanted something that was organic in their house, but not too organic. And they wanted it big to fill up that space, but they also really wanted to be made out of the walnut tree that was in their front yard. So this was a solution that I came up with, this small walnut tree and how to make it bigger. These clients lived in a small square footage but very tall loft-style apartment down in Boston, and they needed something that would work for them in their small space and could be very tall. So I designed these, which actually, they flip upside down. They're pegs that make them fit together, and then they fit into the space. And they could be used in another place when they move. So that's what I do. I go out into the world, I bring my line of furniture, I present what I do to other people, and I look for, and I find problems with solutions that I can give, and I make it easier for people to live in the spaces they're in. Thank you very much.
George Beeland, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, George.